Police shoot civilian during training exercise. That's what we're talking about here today. Stay tuned.
If you like these case updates and our other informational posts that we make, head on over to our website, radzwionlaw.com, and as soon as the homepage loads, our Never Miss Another Post box will pop up. If you enter your email address here and click the I Want to Receive Updates box, then the subscribe box, you will have a link sent to your email inbox every time that we do a case update or another post. This is the most sure and effective way to see our content, and some of which may be exclusive content, rather than looking for it on our social media or waiting for that social media notification to come through.
Hello everyone, my name is Joseph Radzwion IV, your trusted attorney with Radzwion Law PLLC, and today we are looking at how the MSP, or the Michigan State Police, are doing an investigation as to how an auxiliary officer shot a civilian during a training exercise. I do have the full article linked in this post on our blog page. If you'd like to check it out, you have to head on over to radzwionlaw.com/blog, and the link will be in this in today's post. So a couple things that I'd like to highlight, and really just two things that stick out from this article, is that according to the Michigan State Police, the training involved an auxiliary officer, auxiliary officers, and one of the officers in the training discharged a round from his service weapon. That hit a civilian role player in the abdomen during the scenario. Okay, the other aspect that I'd highlight is detectives from the MSP are working to determine how the accidental discharge occurred. We'll talk about that here at the end of the video, but I want to go back just and make a comment. So you have auxiliary officers involved, and typically auxiliary officers are not regular on-duty officers. They are maybe brought in for special events or special details. They're not always, it's not like their primary job, right? It's mostly like a reserve, or they're called in for special events, okay? So with that in mind, even if it wasn't, let's even say it was an on-duty officer that this happened with or involved. The point is that law enforcement, whether it's on-duty, professional, that's their number one job, is being a police officer or a sheriff's deputy, or really any law enforcement, or even if it's a reserve or an auxiliary officer, a lot of the departments in Michigan are underfunded when it comes to training. If you are in law enforcement, you probably know this, but my encouragement to you would be is if your department is only meeting the bare minimum of state qualifications every year, or they only have training every once in a while, I would encourage you to go and get training from a reputable trainer to avoid things like this happening. You might have to spend your own time, take a weekend, and spend your own money, but it would be worth avoiding something like this happening. Okay, so that's my encouragement for you. And if you are a concealed carry holder, or someone who open carries your pistol here in Michigan, or owns firearms, and you are hunting or whatever that looks like, you too should get professional instruction on how to properly and safely handle those firearms. A CPL class here in Michigan, again, is the state minimum. The state minimum as of right now, which is May 10th, 2022, you only have to shoot 30 rounds out of your pistol to qualify. So with that in mind, if you're just doing the state minimum, whether you're law enforcement or private citizen, you should be seeking additional training if you plan on carrying a firearm in a professional manner. Okay, so with that being said, I'd also like to just touch on here just the importance of, now, if you're not willing to spend the money, or the departments are not, and maybe you can petition your city or whatever it is, whatever department, whoever's over that, to give you additional funds for that type of training. Something that you can remind the individuals making these decisions is that at the end of the day, taxpayers end up paying more when accidents, or in my opinion, negligent situations like this happen, because now you have a lawsuit to deal with, and really you're at least in my opinion, you're harming the trust that the community has with the department by accidents like this happening. the community may view you as unprofessional or not give you the respect that you desire when things like this occur. So that would be my encouragement for you law enforcement personnel out there, or people maybe sitting on a board or a city council. You're a city council member. Just keep that in mind. But let's look at the second point in this article, and that is that the Michigan State Police are doing an investigation to determine how something like this happened. Well, I can tell you exactly how it happened. The individual involved did not have an administrative process set up to ensure their firearm was unloaded. And not only did he fail at having an administrative process, the instructor who is overseeing this training-based scenario also did not have the proper training to ensure that firearms were unloaded before they were being used. And again, it rings back to the first point of what type of training do all these individuals have? If the person who's running the training doesn't have the proper credentials or understanding on how to make something like this safe and have those proper policies put in position to ensure things like this don't happen, they shouldn't be doing the training. Okay, so I'll just walk you through briefly what this officer failed to do. I'm going to tell you the proper method in which he should have followed to ensure that something like this did not happen. Step 1, pull your pistol out of the holster, you point it in a safe direction, and you keep your finger off the trigger. Step 2 is remove the source of feed. Otherwise, or in other words, you're pressing the magazine release, you're pulling the magazine that's loaded out of your firearm, and you are sticking it away from the training area, okay? The second, or whatever step we're on now, would be you're locking the slide of the firearm to the rear. You might rack it a couple times to get that round in the chamber to eject out of the firearm, but you are essentially taking the slide and locking it to the rear, putting the slide lock up, and then inspecting the pistol to make sure that there is no ammunition in the chamber and no ammunition in the mag well. Now, the next step is a cautious one, but it is, or overly cautious, but it is to ensure that the individual who's using the pistol has not skipped any of these steps. And that would be is the individual then takes the pistol and has his training buddy that's next to him inspect his pistol and make sure that there is no live ammunition left in the magazine well or in the chamber. Now, the third person we're on third person that's going to inspect the pistol would be the instructor. It is ultimately up to the instructor to make sure that all of these steps have been followed and they have the oversight of walking down the line and making sure each pistol or firearm that's being used in this training exercise has been properly unloaded and that there is no live ammunition left in the gun. Now, the next step would be once the firearm has been cleared, we want to take that magazine that was removed from the pistol and we want to put it somewhere, not anywhere close to the training the training grounds or the scenario-based area that they're using the role players in. This isn't just the magazine that was left in the pistol. This is also all of the magazines that an officer carries. If you're in law enforcement, you may have extra magazines that are in mag carriers on your duty belt. You'll want to make sure that those have been removed as well so that your pistol doesn't become loaded during the training exercise. So you would want to take all of those loaded magazines out and put them in a container or a box or in the trunk of your vehicle while the situation is going, or the training scenario is going on, assuming you're not using your car as part of the training. But you want to put that live ammunition somewhere away from the training area, okay? The last thing you will want to check, and I was taught by one of my instructors to do this because on the off chance this can happen, and it happened to him, he pulled the magazine out of his magazine carrier, and one of the rounds was stripped off of the magazine and it stayed in the magazine carrier. So he was taking empty magazines and practicing his reloads. Magazine picked up that live bullet, and he had a live bullet now in that magazine loaded into the gun. Okay, so you want to make sure that these things or these processes have been followed to ensure that no live ammunition is put into a gun and then pointed at someone in a training exercise. Now, the real thing, caveat to all of this would be is if your department or if you are training in this type of thing where we're using civilian role players, you should be using some sort of rubber gun or red gun or blue gun. They're often deemed, they look just like, they feel just like a real pistol. They're shaped just like a real pistol. They fit in the duty holsters or your holster that you use for concealed carry, but they're inert. They can't shoot. They don't have the ability to be loaded or anything like that. That would be ideal for force-on-force training, or when you're using law enforcement or you're using someone who's going to have to draw a firearm or a training firearm out and point it at a civilian role player or any role player in general. The next step would be like a SIRT gun or a laser gun or even a simunition-based gun, which you're getting into different types of training at that point. But essentially, you can get a training, a red gun or a blue gun, a training gun for relatively cheap if that's something that you're going to be doing over and over and over again. There are other options out there to make your firearm not be able to fire a live round during training. You could look into those as well to make sure that something like this doesn't happen. But at the very least, if you follow those safety rules, having that good administrative process built in to unloading and ensuring that there is no live ammunition in the gun, on your belt, in magazines, or anywhere near you, accidents like this should not happen. And really, I don't think it's an accident. I think it's just negligence. Negligence is essentially summed up by the word ignorance, which means you don't really have the knowledge and understanding on how to use a firearm in a safe manner, and then also carelessness. And carelessness is essentially having the attitude that you know everything and you never make mistakes, and you can disregard some of the safety rules and they don't apply to you. That's when negligent discharges happen, and that's how people end up with property damage or internal injuries or even death in the alternative. So if you found this video helpful, please leave us a comment, share, like, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.